Hey guys, welcome to the Silver Report Uncut. So I wanted to go over this article. It said, rather than cull millions of livestock, let's end animal agriculture. And you know, this is something that there's been a lot of buzz about recently. Now, the new requirements for the weather is going to be that you're only allowed to eat one hamburger per month. And, people are acting like, that's kind of exaggerating. No, this is really happening. I wanted to go over this article, and they discussed what happened when the meat packing industry was essentially shut down or needed to reduce capacity, and it turned to a lot of farmers culling millions of chickens, pigs, cows, and they were overwhelmed with the growing glut of animals within their crowded production facilities. And they said rather than depopulating, they should just end private animal agriculture. And we've discussed this many times. This is what they had intended on. And, people have owned many of these farms and ranches for generations, and they've worked hard. They've worked in their whole lives. Many of them, this is their job. They don't know, of course they know what else to do. They know lots of things, obviously, more than the general public. They know how to make life. They know how.
All right, you know how I feel about letting retards say what retards say, right? Because, I feel like we should be better educated and listening to individuals who actually have a nuanced approach to things. I think that's kind of important as a whole. And my mentalities come from reading and learning and applying said knowledge to real subjects. I think that's fucking important for all of us to do. As far as if you're going to stand here and try and put out information to people and tell individuals what's going on, I don't want to stand here and sell you pessimism porn, right? I want to sell you the truth. And if the truth is terrible, then yeah, by all means, I'm going to stand here and show that to you. Now, here's the thing, though. The truth is much stranger than fiction. Let's actually get into this. All right, so I've heard talk about, Biden wanting to ban red meat and all these type of things as far as stuff's really concerned. But the truth of the matter is Biden and the Democrats are not talking about farming. Because when you and I, or when most Americans think about farming, this is what you think of.
The term grass-fed has been defined many different ways by many different people. To me, it means the animals are never fed grain, never confined in a feedlot, and we don't use performance-enhancing drugs.
Now, the things that the Democrats and the things that the leftists really want to actually stop, and I'm not talking about vegans as a whole, right?
I want to ask a couple questions. First, how many of you are vegetarian or vegan? Okay, a few, around maybe 5%. If we asked all US adults, it'd be around 5, maybe 10%. Now, how many of you have seen at least one of the following? A video of animal cruelty on factory farms, a documentary or news report on the environmental harms of animal agriculture, or a scientific article on the public health issues, such as the overuse of antibiotics in animal feed?
Well, since he began this conversation, let's keep having it as a whole, right? What individuals are actually talking about are CAFOs, right? CAFO, right? Centralized animal feeding operation, right? And basically what it is it's a giant lot where they stand here and pack in as many animals as possible, whether it be cows or pigs or chickens. And they feed them, unnatural foods, and they don't allow them to move around. They don't allow them to really actually have any ability to do anything. They pump them full of antibiotics. They stand knee deep full in a fucking lot full of their own feces and urine. All right, here, check this out.
The whole industrial food system really began with fast food. In the 1930s, a new form of restaurant arose, and it was called the drive-in. The McDonald brothers had a very successful drive-in, but they decided to cut costs and simplify So they fired all their car hops, they got rid of most of the things on the menu, and they created a revolutionary idea to how to run a restaurant. And they basically brought the factory system to the back of the restaurant kitchen. They trained each worker to just do one thing again and again and again. And by having workers who only had to do one thing, they could pay them a low wage, and it was very easy to find someone to replace them. It was inexpensive food, it tasted good, and this McDonald's fast food restaurant was a huge, huge success. That mentality of uniformity, conformity, and cheapness, applied widely and on a large scale, has all kinds of unintended consequences. When McDonald's is the largest purchaser of ground beef in the United States, and they want their hamburgers to taste everywhere exactly the same, they change how ground beef is produced. The McDonald's Corporation is the largest purchaser of potatoes and one of the largest purchasers of pork, chicken, tomatoes, lettuce, even apples. These big fast food chains want big suppliers, and now there are essentially a handful of companies controlling our food system. In the 1970s, the top 5 beef packers controlled only about 25% of the market. Today, the top 4 control more than 80% of the market. You see the same thing happening now in pork. Even if you don't eat at a fast food restaurant, you're now eating meat that's being produced by this system. You look at the labels and you see farmer this, farmer that. It's really just 3 or 4 companies that are controlling the meat. We've never had food companies this big and this powerful in our history. Tyson, for example, is the biggest meatpacking company in the history of the world. The industry changed the entire way that chicken are raised. Birds are now raised and slaughtered in half the time they were 50 years ago, but now they're twice as big. People like to eat white meat, so they redesigned the chicken to have large breasts.
Now, see, here's the thing. I don't stand here and unintentionally stand up for fucking giant agricultural companies, because I'm not a piece of shit and I actually, do research and have real actual thoughts on things, right? Because nobody's trying to stop your local farmer from growing cows or pigs or chickens, okay? I can go into any Tractor Supply store or any, local feed store or whatever the case is and buy chickens if I want to, right? I can buy chicks. I can buy the stuff to raise chicks, and I can raise them in my backyard. And all over the United States, including in most democratic areas like Detroit or Chicago or wherever the case is, there has been a massive movement to allow farming in urban areas so that individuals can feed themselves. This has nothing to do with them trying to stop you from eating meat. It has everything to do with fighting a giant meat packing industry. We need to stand here and stop letting idiots talk. We need to go over to the Silver Report and get in his fucking comment section and tell him to shut the fuck up and do some real goddamn research and stop pushing bullshit on people. This is why, like, me and guys like Max Jerome fucking beef and we squabble and have all these goddamn problems. Legitimately. This is why we have these issues. It's because this is a nuanced conversation and people are trying to be fucking hyperbolic about things. And I'm not interested in telling you lies. I'm not interested in miseducating you. When people do good things, you stand here and you fucking pat them on the back. When people do bad things, we get fucking riled up and handle our business. It's that fucking simple. Stop letting these assholes fucking manipulate you. Jesus fucking Christ. And Tom P's Pnoid News. Y'all know the deal. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.